good morning, but of course it isn't, is it? It's good afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody. Here we are again. Geez, didn't we just do this? I'm certain I was only a few hours ago that I was doing this exact same thing, but of course it is Thursday. Anyway, this morning we had the Spirit World Sees All, which was fun for me. And I hope there are some of you who watched that and are now watching this show, which is going to be about healing. And it's sort of, it's not really a show. This is more of a, let's say, almost like a tutorial, if you like. But I know that when a lot of you tune in, actually, before I say that, Chris, do we actually have anybody on here?
Yeah, I think they just got the notification because now I'm seeing a bunch of people pop on.
Okay, so we'll leave it for a minute then, but we'll leave anything we're going to say for a minute or two. But first of all, I would like to say hello to Grey Eagle, who is just to remind people, he's always there. He's always standing by my side, helping me. If I start coughing, it's because I've got a fan going, because it's a little warm here today. So I'd like to say, wait a minute, I'd like to say hello to Grey Eagle. I'd like to say hello to all of you who are joining, and of course, hello to Chris as well. So I think that I think I'll do a very brief introduction about what we're going to do, but I'd like to give it a few minutes before people come on. This morning, I was mentioning about a Dr. Mandel Dr. Alan Mandel, who I found on the web. And we all know, I'm sure we all know, that you can't believe anything that you hear anywhere at all, not even in the newspapers anymore. I mean, so many what we would have considered at one point newscasters, news organizations that were really serious about the news. You could believe what they were telling us. I mean, I remember my father always watched the 6 o'clock in the evening. There was a 6 o'clock news that came on, and it was always extremely informative. And I don't remember anyone ever questioning, is that right or is that not right? Nowadays, we have to question anything and everything we read, anything and everything, because we've got so many different news shows, and they're all competing with each other. So, often the shows that make more of or more dramatic ways to put things are often the shows that people love to hear, because we do love drama in our lives, don't we? We do love the sensational. I don't personally, but a lot of people like the sensationalism, which is now journalism, and you can't believe a word really that anyone says. I remember, you're going to think I'm very weird now, Kai. I remember years and years ago, you've got Samantha was just a little girl at the time, and everything about the news was about Russia, and it was about Russia training their rockets and launching their rockets on, the little island of England, just and sort of they'd got everything trained on us. And I remember walking into a friend's house one day, and in his kitchen he had one of these huge calendars, and I was looking through it, and it was a big war calendar, and I can remember it said sometime in September, let's say the 27th of September, World War III. And I started to get so worried and so panicked and so anxious, not for me, but I think for my daughter, thinking, how do I keep her safe? What am I supposed to do? And so on. And then it all blew over, and it was nothing at all. And I decided from then on, I'm not listening to the news. I'm not going to read a newspaper. I'm done with it. Whatever happens, happens. And since that time, and my daughter's a young woman now with her own, son and so on. So we're going back we're going back a long time, 30, 40 years maybe. But since that time, I have never, ever picked up a newspaper. And I very rarely watched TV news. You would then think, well, how do I know what's going on in the world? Amazingly, and I shock my friends and I shock my family too. Amazingly, I do seem to know what's going on. I don't know the little intricate details. I don't know the minutiae of it, but the larger stuff I do. Somehow or another, it gets through to me. I seem to pay attention to those things, whether it's because I'm, you know, aware of what people are saying, or whether it's because I'm aware of what Grey Eagle is saying, or whatever it is that I need to know. But I think that, you know, we have to be so careful of what anybody and everybody says to us, because, and I guess that includes me too, doesn't it? I mean, we have to question, and we have to question again. And you know, people say very often about, you know, especially with my subject, oh, well, you know, he's skeptical, or she's so skeptical, or whatever, as if it's a bad thing. But I actually think that the reason that I'm as good as I am at what I do, which I jolly well am, I think the reason for that is because I am highly skeptical. I'm skeptical of what I hear. I'm skeptical of what I see. I am very tough on people who come from the spirit world. If I can't hear them or I can't see them clearly, then I'm going to wait until I can. I'm going to wait until I do see them clearly, or I do hear them clearly, but preferably both. But I'm very, I push myself as well as I push others. And I have a lot of fun with the people in the spirit world, because, they when they come to me, when they know I'm who they have to get through to speak to their family, and they often want to do it their way, and I'm saying, no, we're going to do it my way, and we usually end up doing it their way. But I'm very strict. Can you tell me that again? I didn't hear it clearly. I checked with Grey Eagle, did I get that right? So I am probably the most skeptical person that you could ever wish to meet. And I think skepticism, healthy skepticism, good, healthy skepticism, is what we should all be, so that when the doctor says to me, oh, you've got to take this pill, I'm going to be skeptical. I'm going to find out about it. I'm going to see, well, what are the side effects? The same when I listen to YouTube, I'm thinking, that sounds really good. Maybe I'll try it. It's nothing harmful in there. I'll try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, but we have to be skeptical in all things. So how are we doing, Chris? Have we got plenty of people on now?
We do have plenty on, and I'm noticing many more are still logging on. People, getting home from work and such. But no, you got a good crew in the chat room.
Okay, so all right. So before we begin to talk about healing per se, what I would like you all to understand is that we are doing a healing session. So I'd like you to sort of find a nice comfy chair to sit in, or a bed to lie on, or however it is you want to do it. You can close your eyes and just listen to my voice, or you can keep your eyes open and listen to my voice. But whatever it is, I want you to just remember that even though I don't see you, I don't know how many of you there are, Grey Eagle knows exactly. Those in the spirit world know exactly. Your friends, your family, your loved ones in the spirit world, they know that you are watching this. They know that you're listening to this, and are sending out healing even as we speak. So you're getting my healing energy, my healing vibes. You're getting Grey Eagle's healing vibes, and you're also getting the vibrations of those in the spirit world who you love and trust. So as I'm talking to you, just remember, all you have to do is breathe gently, breathe in, and just absorb the energy as we're doing this, because as I'm talking to you, I'm sending my energy out to you individually. Gregor knows where it has to go. That universal God force that is out there knows where it has to go. All I have to do is put it out, and then I trust them and rely on them to send it to whoever is out there who needs it. So, all right. So I thought that I would talk a little bit today about, again, about healers, about people who need healing, and the different tools that we can use. We talked a little bit last time about using color and using color energy, and each color has its own energy. Running through it very quickly for you to, as a reminder, the color green brings peace and harmony, and it's the energy of, it's just that perfect vibration that you need to bring peace and harmony into your life. So if you're anxious or you're worried or you're nervous about anything, just sort of just think green, think beautiful, beautiful, pale green, even deep green, but think of the green that makes you feel peaceful and quiet and really good. Of course, we have the color blue, which is the universal healing color. I think everybody in the world knows that the color blue is of a certain vibrational level that will bring healing without even trying. But if you feel you're having a day, for instance, that you just feel a bit worn down, or you feel a bit, boy, I could, my back is aching, I could really do with some healing today, then go into your closet, put on a blue sweater or blue blouse, or even if you just wear a blue scarf, it reminds you of the energy that you're bringing to you, and it helps you with that healing process. Let's see, what other colors do we have? There are, so what did I do? We've got green, we've got blue, of course, we've got red. Just be careful with red, because red is energizing energy. It's a really powerful and positive energizing energy. When I say red, I mean also the various shades of red from oranges and so on. But if you feel low, if you feel like you're lacking in energy, just put a red scarf around you, or put a red sweater on it. Every time you see it, every time you look at it, make you feel positive. Be careful with it. Don't do too much with it, because it's powerful energy. But if you're feeling lethargic, or you're feeling, oh gosh, I wish I had more energy, or if you towards the end of the day you're feeling really low, but you've got another hour to go before work, then just think of that color red and let it pop you, let it give you that little pop, that little bit of energy that you need. So we've got green and blue and red and what else? Indigo, I suppose, like a sort of wonderful purplish color. Now you go into any church anywhere in the world and you'll see that color. I mean, it's just there, and it's as if we all know on some level, our soul knows on some level that this is a very powerful, I hate to use the word religious, because everybody thinks of religion as in different ways, but it's a very, very powerful force for good, for God. So if you're feeling that you need a shot of good, positive God energy, think that, put a shawl around you, just feel it right in there with you. What other colors have we got? Yellow, of course. Yellow is that, when we think of angels, we think of God, we think of that powerful God force that is out there. We think of light, and light goes from yellows to white, bright white sometimes. And so yellow is that, just aside from the fact that yellow is a sunshiny, happy, smiley color, the color is so powerful and it's such a God force. And when you think of the color yellow, if you dress in yellow, you're sort of literally surrounding yourself with that powerful God force that is out there, and it infuses you with the energy, the vibrational energy, with all of these colors, can totally infuse you with real healing energy and real healing powers. I'm not sure if I've done all the colors. Have I done all the colors, Chris? Did I miss any?
Well, if I'm thinking of your rainbow song, pink.
Well, of course, pink is the color of love. I mean, we all want that, don't we? And if you're feeling a bit low and you've not had any loving recently, you know, just wrap yourself in pink. I always like to tell my patients when, you know, when we're talking, and you know, and I say, just think of a beautiful blue blanket, blue, the healing color, pale pastel blues, and think of it threaded with ribbons, with pinks and golds and greens, and think of those sort of ribbons around the edges of the blanket, and wrap it around you. Visualize wrapping that around you, and it just really makes a huge difference. So okay, so visualization techniques are powerful. How do we visualize? What do we need to visualize? We can visualize flowers, we can visualize lots of things. But today I'm going to talk to you about something that the Native Americans knew so much about. Of course, they were so much more knowledgeable than those of us in the Western world, who we grew up with religion that was, you know, sort of dictated to, and dictated to us sometimes by people who knew what they were talking about, but a lot of the time people who didn't not necessarily know what they were talking about. But in my church, I had a wonderful church and wonderful people who gave me wonderful things, but we never really talked about healing. We never actually talked about visualization. We never talked about power symbols, but the Native Americans seem to have, and there are other cultures that have the same or similar things, but the Native Americans used power symbols or power animals, and they were very, very, very keen to do this. And this morning on the show this morning, we had somebody who said, you know, I see owls, I see eagles a lot. What does that mean? Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about power animals briefly, because I really want to work on power symbols before you go into the animal thing. But certain people are drawn to certain animals, and my power animal, if you like, not that a bird is an animal, but you know what I'm talking about. But my power animal is the eagle. Of course, it has a lot to do with grey eagle, but my power symbol. So we have power animals and we have power symbols, and we're going to talk mostly today about power symbols. Excuse me. My power symbol is the feather. Okay, so how do we find a power symbol? Does everybody have a power symbol? How are we supposed to look for a power symbol? You can look for your power symbol through meditation, if that's the way you want to do it. You can think about, or just sit quietly and think about all of the different things that might inspire you. For instance, you might be inspired by mountains. These are only a few suggestions here. We've got tons. You might be inspired by mountains. You might find yourself drawn to mountains. You might find yourself, even if you've never been to a mountainous area, you might find yourself being really, really drawn to those mountains, which really make you feel. And this is what a power symbol does for you. It makes you feel something more than a normal feeling. It makes you feel drawn to it. You're pulled to it. You're pulled to or drawn to whatever your power symbol is. Some people have the sun as a power symbol. Let me see, what else have we got here? Some people, I know a friend of mine who's drawn to shells as a power symbol. a particular type of shell that she's always drawn to as a power symbol. There are lots of different power symbols. If you look at the Native Americans, and they had their totems, and they had often on their totem poles, they had all the sorts of different power symbols that they might have used. Maybe a pipe, maybe a rattle, maybe your power symbol is a dream catcher. Lots and lots and lots of different things. Those power symbols have to be, I guess you could say, from nature, and to do with this world of ours, or some connection to nature. I know of somebody who has an oak tree as a power symbol, because every time she's drawn to oak trees, first of all, and every time she sees an oak tree or an acorn, or whichever it is, there's something that she feels. She doesn't quite know what it is, but she feels something. Now, there is a little bit of a fallacy about power symbols and also power animals, but again, we're focusing on the power symbols today. And I hope you're all getting lots of healing as I'm talking to you, because boy, am I sending out this lovely energy to you all. There's a little bit of a fallacy in that your power symbol is what gives you power. So if I pick up a feather, for instance, because the feather is my power symbol, if I pick up a feather, that will give me power. I'll feel great because that will give me power. Or somebody might be on the beach walking, they find just that one shell, which is their power symbol, and they pick it up and they think, oh good, now I have my power. But that is not how power symbols work. And in healing, excuse me, I'm sort of getting more comfortable here. And in healing, as we're doing our healing, it's really great as a healer if, as you're giving someone healing, or if you are a patient wanting healing, it's really great once you know what your power symbol is. It's really great to be able to visualize, or even if you have, for instance, the shell or the feather or whatever it is your power symbol is, it's great. It's great to be able to hold it in your hand, but it is not giving you power. Your power symbol, sorry to tell you this, your power symbol does not give you power, except in that your power symbol is that symbol that reminds you of the power that you have inside of you. As spiritual beings, having this human experience, and I always tack on hopefully in a spiritual way, as human beings, and having this incredible journey, and being a soul on this earth, we have the power. We have so much power within us. Most people don't know that they have that power. Majority of people, we saw this week, I did the bottom brick exercise. And when we do the bottom brick exercise with people, we can see very often how powerless they feel. And so many of us in our lives, depending on the situation that we're in, depending on how we're feeling, depending on, how perhaps we're struggling, or what kind of things we're struggling with, most of us, at some point in our lives, we just feel powerless. We just want to sit down, put our head down, and not think about anything. We don't want to deal with anything because our life becomes so overwhelming and so overwhelmingly distraught. We just feel powerless. But we're not. We have power. We just need to be reminded that we have power. And our power symbol, whichever that power symbol is, our power symbol is that one thing. When we see it, it reminds us. It doesn't give us power, except that it reminds us and gets us moving to fully understanding we have this power. This symbol is reminding us that as spiritual beings, as souls walking this earth, as simply human beings, we are not powerless. God did not land us on this earth as powerless beings. He gave us power, and that power is so often so much within us. And our power symbol is a reminder of that. I'm going to tell you a little story which illustrates this. And then once I've done with this little story, if any of you want to ask questions now, I'm still giving you healing. So, we're sort of that. I want you to stay relaxed. In the next 5 or 10 minutes, you can come out of the healing if you want to. If you want to sort of interact, if you want to ask questions, you can do that. But right now, stay in this place that you're in, where I'm sending you healing, all right? So I'm going to tell you this little story, and it's a true story, of course. All of my stories are true stories. Well, it depends. If I'm telling kids stories, I'll make something up. I'm good at that too. But these stories that I tell you, the stories that are in my books are all true stories. So one time I was invited to I think it was to, I'm trying to think now, I think it was the Lisa Gibbons show. If you don't know who she is, well, you can go actually to my YouTube channel and see her and see me on that show. Or you can go to Lisa's channel, and I'm sure you'll find me there too. But there I was, and I never knew what we were going to do beforehand. I was in California, and I walked into the studio, and everybody said hello, and they mic'd me up, and so on, whatever. I rarely met Lisa before the show. She was busy with her audience doing whatever she needed to do. But the crew would take me, and they would mic me up, and they would make sure everything was okay. And then they would shove me in a cupboard. They would shove me in a little cupboard or a small room. It was always fairly dark. It was always small, a bit like a cupboard, so that I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't hear anything, and I couldn't hear the audience, and I couldn't hear what Lisa was saying. And in fact, I couldn't hear what anyone was saying, because not only did they shove me in the cupboard in a nice way, they were great people. In a very nice way, they'd shove me in this cupboard all mic'd up, and then they'd put their headphones on me just to be sure, just to make absolute certain that I couldn't hear a thing or see a thing. Because, you can understand, we talked about skepticism earlier, and they were skeptical, and they did not want me to hear what Lisa was talking to her audience about. In the meantime, not that I knew it, but in the meantime, Lisa was talking with the audience. She was talking with different people in the audience, and she was telling the audience what the show was going to be about. And, because she would always have a theme for the different shows she did with different people. And she also told them about me and so on. And anyway, so now finally, I come out, they take me out of the cupboard, they take the headphones off, and now I'm ready to go. And then they, not quite, they don't push me out there onto the stage, but okay, off you go. With Lisa, with the Lisa show, it was always really interesting, because after the first show I ever did with her, usually when you go on a TV show, well, you probably don't know this, but usually when you're on a TV show, or if whatever it is you're doing, they put this sort of blue tape on the stage, and they tell you that's where you have to stand there, and you can't go anywhere but there. And of course, that's not me. So there I had my little, little bit of tape to tell me where I should stand and so on. Anyway, I walked onto the stage. This particular time I walked onto the stage and found out that this was a show all about people who had lost their kids, which immediately explained to me what had happened in the cupboard before I went out on the show. As always with any TV show, whether it's live or not, most of them are live, but as always with any TV show or with any show at all, whether I'm going out into an audience of people, whatever it is I'm going to be doing, I sit quietly. It doesn't matter that I can't see. It doesn't matter that I've got earphones on, because who I'm talking to when I'm waiting, I'm calming myself, I'm centering myself, I'm raising my level of consciousness in order that whatever it is going to confront me out there on that stage, whatever it is that is out there, I'm good. I'm good. I can deal with it. But this particular time, I was particularly concerned, let's say. And although I didn't know that there were a whole audience of people out there who'd lost their kids, I knew that this was perhaps a little bit different. I knew that I needed every little bit of power and every little bit of energy that I had. And I was talking to Grey Eagle, and I was asking basically for his help for me to do a good job. And I just wanted to do a good job, and I wanted to do it right. And I was concerned, I was worried that I was not going to do such a good job. I'm only human, I'm not, I don't just go out there and blindly think, oh, this is going to work and I'm going to be fine. So I was asking Grey Eagle for as much help as he could give, as much help as that universal God force out there could give to me. I need it, basically. I really need something. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at a feather. I'm going to say this feather must have been at least 8 foot tall, if not 10 foot tall, and goodness knows how as wide. And it was placed in front of me, and it stood erect right in front of me. And this was Grey Eagle's way of saying to me, you have the power. The feather reminds you that you have the power within you. You have the power to be what we need you to be. You have the power to be the voice of the spirit world. You have the power to go out there and to do your job. And the feather, it was so huge, I was quite taken aback at first, but then I began smiling because, of course, it reminded me of who I am and what I do. It reminded me that I have a job to do. And it reminded me that I am powerful enough within me and strong enough within me that I can do this job. I can do it. And so when they came and took off the headphones and adjusted my mic a little bit and then put me out onto the stage, I knew I could do my job. I didn't know what I was going to have to be asked to do. I had no idea where I was going with it. I didn't know if, and certainly I was not standing on that little blue piece of tape. And after the first time I did the show with Lisa, basically she said to the cameraman, she's not going to stand there. Your job to follow her. You just got to follow where she goes. Because she's not going to stand there. She's going to go out into the audience, or she's going to whatever she wants to do. And Lisa was great. And she said to me, wherever you want to go, the cameramen will follow you. They know to just follow you. And it was wonderful being on that show because they allowed me to do my job in the way that I needed to do it, not in the way that the producer thought I should, not in the way that the host thought I should, but Lisa allowed me to just get on with it and do what I needed to do. I'm thinking of Larry King also. He used to do the same thing with me. And you can actually see those shows because they're on YouTube, and or you have to look for my name connected with their names, and you'll find the shows, and they are worth watching. In fact, Reese asked me just a couple of days ago, when you get here, Mosey, which I'm going to be there in a week or so, when you get here, Mosey, can we watch some of those shows that you've done? Because I want to see how they work. So they are worth watching, and they are worth, sort of, because you get an idea of how it works when we're talking in the spirit world, and how complex sometimes it can be, and yet all of a sudden it's not complex at all. It's really quite simple. So power symbols, when you're giving healing, to visualize your power symbol, whatever that might be, to visualize it reminds you, it doesn't give you power, it reminds you that you are a soul born to this earth and with your God-given energy and your God-given power, the power of the soul, the power of the spirit. It reminds you that you can do this and that you have the power and the energy to do this and to give to people in a healing way. And for those who need healing, for instance, some of my patients, I will perhaps tell them, while I'm giving you healing, I'd like you to try, if you can, to visualize. And if I know their power symbol, I will tell them to visualize that power symbol. Or I'll let them share my power symbols. I want you to visualize feathers, or just one big feather, however you want to do it. But it reminds them too that even though they are sick, even though they've come for healing, even though they're feeling a little frail, whatever it is, that power symbol reminds them that they are spiritual beings, albeit having a human experience, and definitely in a spiritual way. So power symbols are very important in the process of healing. And I'm sure that some of you will, want to know, well, Rosemary, what's my power symbol? Don't ask me what your power symbol is. I never tell anyone what their power symbol is. I explain how you can find it through either meditation, or some of you will know it even though you didn't realize it was a power symbol. You're drawn to the mountain or this particular mountain, and you don't even realize it's a power symbol until you think, yes. And you have an epiphany, and suddenly you realize, yes, this is what makes me feel strong. This is what helps me to feel powerful. So there are lots of different power symbols that people use. I know people whose symbol, it might be a pyramid, or it could be the Taj Mahal. It could be whatever it is. It could be something small. It could be something large. Again, I'm saying to you that my power symbol is the feather. It does not. If I see a feather laid at my feet, it makes me smile, because I know that perhaps Grey Eagle or someone in the spirit world is thinking, I think she might need to be reminded she can do this. She's on her way to visit someone, or she's on her way to do something. Hey, here you go. Be reminded of your power. And all of us, every one of us, we have that power, and our power symbol is what we use to remind us. And as healers, of course, the best healers have humility, which means they have doubts and they have worries. So when you're about to give healing, it really works if you can search around in your head for you. You'll know your power symbol. If you're already giving healing, you should know your power symbol, and just remind yourself or visualize it just prior to laying your hands on your patient, and just help that power symbol to remind you of the wonderful power that you have, that healing power that you have. Okay, Chris, I'm waking everybody up. So I'm still sending healing. So if you are listening and you don't want to participate, that's fine. But I think, do we have any questions, or has everybody just been quiet and absorbing it? What's going on over there?
You have a little bit of both. Violet wrote early on that she was looking forward to this. She also said, I learned my power symbol with Rosemary during a workshop in Manchester about 1996.
Oh
And,
gosh.
and my power animal only last year. You never stop learning. And then she had added, my friend Jess attended the same workshop. Rosemary looked at her and said, your power symbol is a spinning stone, exactly what Jess saw in her meditation.
Or did I tell her? See, I never tell people. I like them to find it for themselves. But she must have known it for me to have told her. So, what I said to her obviously resonated. Thank you, Violet. I love, this is a great subject. I love talking about it because not everybody has the same power symbol. We all have different power symbols. And I know some people out there have a feather, as I do. But there are so many other power symbols that people have. And it's always very interesting to find out what people's power symbols are. Keep going, Chris.
All right. Gary had written with a question. Oh, where did it go here? Is there any way to tell a true healer from one who just claims to be a healer?
Why aren't you back on the roof is what I want to know. um, it might be a different Gary.
No, same one.
Well, actually, we're all healers. Every one of us is born with the gift to heal. So I like this question, Gary. It's a good question. So every one of us is born with the gift to heal. It's natural. Think about it. A child falls and grazes its knee. We pick up the child. The very first thing we do is we use our hands. We rub the child's knee. We say, "Let me make it better." It's an instinct. It's just an instinctive thing that we do. If we have a headache, we'll often find ourselves, massaging our temples. It's an instinctive thing. So everybody has the gift to heal. But there are some healers who have more power and more energy. There are some healers who have worked at it. And as my students, using color, using visualization, there are lots of ways to enhance your abilities as a healer. And I just can I remind you all that in fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, there are lots of examples of healing, and I talk about color healing and visualization techniques and so on and so forth. So don't think this is the only thing you're going to get. There's lots of information out there from me. I can't vouch for anyone else, I'm sorry to say, but from me, there's lots of information out there. And I think that, also, Gary, I'm going to address this too, because this is important too. I always say that there are healers for people. So you might find someone who's a great healer for Jack, but when it comes to Joe, not so much. I think it's about compatible energy and a connection of energy and vibration. So I think that there's that goes along with it as well. So you can have somebody who is a really fine, really great healer and has learned to use visualization techniques. They've learned to use their power. They've learned to raise their level of consciousness. There's so much to healing that we can learn from and grow from. And but again, this healer might have 10 people who he affects and feels really great with, and they feel great with, and then that 11th person, maybe not so much. That doesn't mean that the healing isn't working. It's just that the patient might not feel it, or the healer might not feel that same connection. And it's all to do with connecting, raising your level of consciousness and connecting with the vibrational level of your patient. Before you even lay your hands on a patient, you should have a moment. And in that moment, you should be connecting with your own soul, with your own self, with your own energy, with your own healing energy. You should be connecting with that universe. You should be connecting with that God force. I always like to say a prayer before healing. Dear God, please allow me to connect with you and to join in with your healing process, because I feel that it's not me who's doing it. This is coming from a force, universal God force, whatever you want to call it, which is beyond me, but which I can join with and to connect in with. And of course, I always say at the end of that prayer, dear God, I will to thy will. In other words, whatever I want for this patient is not important. And this is a problem with healers and healing. We see someone with cancer and we so want to, healing is all about getting rid of the cancer. Or, someone's hand is paralyzed. The healing is can be all about, making the hand better and so on, or whatever it is, the ailment. And it's so easy for a healer to fall into the trap of this particular issue is what we should be working at. And that's not true at all. When you say, dear God, I will to thy will, God knows what that patient needs better than you do. You don't really know. You are just there as a conduit. And as much as you would love it for the hand to be healed or for the tumor to be gotten rid of, and it often happens that way, as much as you like it, you want it, your job as a healer is not to focus on that part of things. Your job as a healer, although, in some cases we can help things along by visualization techniques, but basically the bottom line is whatever God decides is what, as a healer, this is our job, is to just be the conduit for that God force that is out there. I don't know if that's caused more questions or not, but I hope it answers somewhat some of your question. Yes, Grace.
Tilly says, I brought my cousin Gary to see you in Edmonton quite a few years ago now.
Gosh,
Ju-
Edmonton is north of Canada, way, way, way up there, right? Yes. Okay.
um, let's see, to see you in Edmonton quite a few years ago now, just after he lost his children in a house fire at Christmas time.
Wait, I know this story. I know this story. Yes, I'm listening. I'm paying
So,
attention.
so Tilly says, you were so good to him and helped him so much.
There are certain things that happen in your life that you can't forget. You just can't forget. This is one of those stories. I've written about it. Of course, I never use names or what have you, but I've written about this. It was such a powerful, I remember it being a large audience. I remember this man sitting sort of somewhere to the back and to my right. I can remember his pain. I can remember the children. I remember all of this story. I would love to know how he's doing. It was a long time ago. I'm so glad to hear you say that I helped, because you never know. When it was in a large audience, it was a long message. It was a detailed message. It was a wonderful message for him. But you never know how people are taking what you're saying. And there was so much grief about this man. He was in so much terrible grief. You like to think you're helping people, you like to think that what you've done will make a difference. Somehow it will make a difference, a positive difference in people's lives, but you never quite know whether it's going to or not. I would love to know if it made a positive difference and how the family is doing now, if that's possible. So I thank you so much, Tilly, wow, thank you so much. That's taken me way back. One of those very, very, very memorable moments that I was very privileged to be part of. Chris.
Judith says, I feel relaxed and a bit drowsy. The energy continues to gently vibrate around and through me. I was convinced I would absorb every particle, and I continue to absorb. I am so thankful.
Keep going because it's right there. And I do get a lot of people asking me, and I think somebody asked me the last time we were doing this, does it have the same effect if it's recorded and not live? And it absolutely does, because remember, it's not just me and you guys and the camera, and it's not just that. It's this energy. This is about the force and the power of the universe. What we're doing here, we're connecting with that God force, that powerful, universal God force that is out there. And you can't contain it on the camera. It is still emanating out all of the time. So it doesn't matter how many times you watch this, and it doesn't matter whether it's live or not live, it doesn't matter. That God force sees you, hears you as you're watching this, as you're listening to this. Your loved ones in the spirit world are watching you, watching me, if you like. They're watching the reactions, and they're watching and they're absorbing the energy too. So that even if you're looking at this and it is not live, you are still going to get that immense connection and the power of that God force, which is out there for all of us. And you just suck it in. It doesn't matter if I'm live. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. That God force, that God energy is alive and around us and keeping us safe and keeping us centered as much as they can. And so even if you're watching this, and I'm not live, I'm promising you. So just keep going with it. You can watch it as many times as you like and still have that energy being given to you. Chris.
Now, Rosemary, you have some healing meditations on CDs as well as uploaded to Spotify, like A Journey Toward Healing. Did you want to talk about them?
Well, yes, years and years ago, I had a patient, and she was wonderful. Her name is Wendy. I'm going back a long time now, several years, a lot of years. And I remember being on a radio show. Wendy was my patient for quite a while. She had cancer, and she was, first not so sick, but gradually getting more and more sick. The cancer was taking over. But I remember I used to go and visit her several times a week. Her and her family. She had two boys who, we would let them join in if they wanted to, and her husband. Anyway, one day I was on a radio show, and then after the radio show, I drove to Wendy's house to give her some healing. And as I walked through the door, her husband said, "Oh, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you came. She's she's having a great day." And I walked into the living room, and she was sitting up, and she was happy, and she was sort of really great. And I said to her, "You look great." She said, she said, I felt terrible this morning. She said, "I didn't think I'd be getting out of bed. And then I heard you on the radio. And as soon as I heard your voice, I felt so much better. And I'm up and dressed, and she was so happy. I heard your voice, she said. So I immediately went home and played around with the little tape recorder and put something on tape for her. With Gregor and I devised our first, sort of ended up as being our first healing session, and we put it on a little tape recorder, and I just gave it to her so she could play it whenever she wanted to. And after she passed, I decided that this, maybe this could be so helpful for other people. So I went to this, let's say it was a recording studio. It was a man who used he had 2 rooms in his house. He had one room as his recording studio. And I sat out in the hallway on a stool, and I was, with my headphones on. He was in the other room, and he was, going to record this healing experience for me. So this healing session. So okay, so I began. Now, as always happens when I record anything, if it's an hour, that's as much as I go. If it's 50 minutes, that's as much as I go. Don't ask me how I do it. It's meant to be, right? But here we had this healing session. And so I sat on this stool in the hallway with a microphone in front of me, and I did this healing session. And I was so amazed. Of course, I expected to see Grey Eagle there, and he was there with his little baton, and he was sort of, helping me, almost like when you might see an orchestra, when to pause, when to continue, so on and so forth. He was doing a great job of that. And to my amazement, standing next to him was Wendy, and she thought that this was so fantastic that she could actually come, and Grey Eagle brought her with him. She could actually come and watch me do this healing tape, which has since that time been all over the world. It's called A Journey Towards Healing. We have 4 healing, they're discs now, of course. We have 4 of those, plus we have an amazing, I had another patient, Bob, my darling Bob the Builder, because he was a builder, and I used to call him Bob the Builder. And he was an amazing, amazing patient. Again, I've written about him in the books. And he came with me this day. We were driving to this different studio, actually different country. We're driving to the studio, and he said to me, "Rosemary, you didn't give me a script." And I looked at him and I said, "We don't need a script." He said, "Well, how am I going to know what to say?" And I said, "You're going to answer my questions. I'm going to ask the questions. You're going to answer them the best way you can. And that's it. We're done. We're good." And that's what we did. Timing was perfect. We didn't have to cut anything out. What you hear on there is exactly what we did. The same as with Wendy. So these healing tapes are really great. They're wonderful. If you, I say tapes, discs, whatever, if you would like to know more about them, or you want one, please email my office, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and put in the, in the subject line, put healing or whatever. But you can do that if you want to get in touch with me, whatever. Let's keep going. We've just got a few more minutes left here. It's really gone fast. But any more questions? Anything else we want?
Ashaya says, is it possible to heal relationships as well as individuals?
What a fabulous question. I think that's the first time anybody's actually asked me that, in connection with healing, of course. And yes, it is very possible to heal relationships. And I love the way your mind is working. I love what you're saying there. I love what you're doing. Thinking of what we're doing here and talking and connecting, I do want to mention to you, we haven't a date yet, but sometime in November, I'm actually going to be hoping working at it, keeping our fingers crossed, we might be able to organize an evening with Rosemary live, actually an audience, um, me walking through the audience, holding people's hands, doing all sorts of things, connecting with those in the spirit world. So keep your eyes skinned for that. That will be in Florida, probably in or close to Sarasota. We don't know yet, but just thought I'd throw it out there and mention it. Let's go back to what we're doing here, Chris.
All right. Danielle says, as you mentioned Larry King, I felt electricity in my spine. So thank you, Rosemary and Gray Eagle.
You are so welcome. I love that.
I think that's about it for questions, Rosemary.
Okay, any comments, anything anybody else wants to say? Because we are at time.
Well, I know there are quite a few people remarking to Tilly when they read the story about her cousin and the fire. They're sending condolences to the family.
Yeah, did we get anything back from her? Do we know how the family is doing at all?
Not yet.
That's okay. Well, that's all right. Maybe next time, probably in a couple of weeks, we'll be, maybe, I don't know if we're doing it next week. I don't know. Not sure. I don't know where I am. Is next week the 4th of July? Is it? Are we
It
close?
is. Yes.
Yeah. So next week is the 4th of July. So, plans will be a little bit sketchy, but we shall be back. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'd like to say thank you all of you for listening. Thanks to Chris for great facilitating. We will be back next Thursday morning. Will we? Is that 4th of July?
It is 4th of July. It's undecided, Rosemary. What depends on what's going on with you.
Oh, well, it really depends on what's going on with you.
Does anybody want us to go live on Thursday? Write it in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. And if you don't hear anything from us, we should be back here next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I personally don't celebrate 4th of July. If you've not noticed, I'm British. And don't for 1 minute think of the Boston Tea Party, people, because I'm not going there with that. You're not throwing me into the brink. So hopefully we'll be back next Thursday. If not, please check out the website, because we should be doing cracking up. Sorry, my brain's gone. We should be
Well,
definitely
you have
doing
so many different shows to choose from, Rosemary.
I know we'll be doing cracking up. We're still looking for people to do the bottom brick exercise. We are thinking, because I know that a lot of people are put off with doing it publicly. I am thinking of offering that privately. Unfortunately, you'll have to pay for it. If you do it publicly, you get it for free. I mean, why wouldn't you do it publicly? I promise I'll be gentle. I promise I'll be so nice to you, and you'll be so pleased that you did it. Anyway, so if you're interested in doing the bottom brick, it's a fantastic exercise. Again, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, and put in the subject line what you'd like to know more about. And again, thank you all for joining. Thank you so much for everybody, your interest, your great questions that we've had today. Tilly, let me know how they're doing. Can you please, even if you want to do it privately? I'd love to know, because I remember very, very clearly that whole experience. In the meantime, until I see you all again, possibly next week, we'll let you know. If not, in the meantime, please, everybody, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. I usually say that in the morning, and here I am saying it at nighttime. Please have a very, very blessed rest of the day, everybody, and have a very blessed weekend.